been a big fan of yours for years, and I've always loved the diverse range of projects that you do. I mean, The Alienist was such an awesome show, obviously Fast and Furious, Hobbit, all of these things, and you've done so much comedic work that's really landed well, but it feels like it's a unique kind of action vehicle that blends a lot of those elements together. What attracted you to this project?
I think just that. I think it was nice to pick up a script that, on the cover says it's an action movie, but actually it's a character driven story. I mean, it really, you are really connected, and you go on the journey with John, and there's humor, it's very real, it feels very realistic, the way he approaches every obstacle within the story. And I like that. He feels like an everyman, I resonated with that very, very much. Of course, he's not in an everyman situation all the time, but he deals with the situations like a normal guy in his position, and I like that. I resonated with that massively.
And a lot of times when you watch action movies, the hero gets into these fights and he just seems to brush it off and is absolutely fine with it. But that opening fight, stopping for the bottle of water and kind of working through it does feel a little bit more realistic, but it's still an over-the-top scene. What was it like filming that sequence?
Yeah, I mean, it was great. We added all those little nuance detail into the fight sequence because he's in his early 40s, like me. I'm in my mid 40s, but he's just trying to get through life, without dying. And I think it took 3 weeks to rehearse, to put that fight sequence together to the point where we were ready to go into a real kitchen, use real utensils and fight. Well, I think essentially it was over 25 different stuntmen that came into that kitchen and I had to fight. So it took a lot of work, a lot of preparation, and when you do fight sequences, they are dangerous. And when you're working in a real kitchen, there's a lot of sharp objects and sharp corners and flame and all that stuff. So it took a lot of practice and rehearsal, but when the day came, it was very, very fun. We loved it. We really enjoyed it. I was covered in creme brulee for about 2 days.
And this is obviously a reunion of sorts for you and Sung, playing opposite sides of the hero-villain spectrum. Did you guys kind of commiserate about being on the other side of each other this time around?
I think we embraced it. We were very happy to be, firstly, working together because he's such a lovely man and a great actor. And it was nice to see him show his dark side. And yeah, we loved it. We really enjoyed the sequences we had together. The storyline was very strong. Also, he's, even though he is the bad guy, there is an element of you understand him a bit more. You see that there's a torn kind of good guy inside of him, but the darkness really rises to the top. But it was very fun, and it was lovely to work with him and hang out with him as well.
And everybody, obviously, in movies these days, they talk about franchises and series and starting that kind of thing. Was there ever a desire for you to kind of get this as like your James Bond or your type of starting off a cool action franchise? Because I could see John going anywhere in the world and getting involved in crazy stories.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can so see John, Joey, and Raymond, being somewhere else and getting themselves into some kind of situation. She can drive fast cars. He can fight his way out of a restaurant kitchen. And we've got a very intelligent kid on our hands. So it would be great, I think, if we were able to revisit that family somewhere else. And obviously Kwang is still somewhere. Yeah, weekend anywhere.
Alex Maidy, JoBlo.com. How you doing, Wyatt?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm awesome. This was such a great character because a lot of times when you watch a movie, the kid or the teen character gets treated like a kid, but you get to play just a character who fits in with everybody. They don't talk down to him, and he gets his butt kicked in that one scene. What was it? What was it like playing this character?
Yeah, definitely it was really fun. I mean, being the only kid on set, it was really fun. And just like that one scene where Sung was just beating me, I mean, to the audience they're obviously scared and they're like on the edge of their seat, but like while I was filming it, I definitely learned a lot from that. Yeah.
And what would you think, what would you say is the most challenging scene for you in this whole movie? Was it one of the action scenes, one of the more dramatic scenes? What was probably the one that sticks out in your memory the most?
Yeah, again, I do have to say the scene where Sung kidnaps me and starts beating me and points a gun to my head because like when he brings out the katana, I have to start like crying and like crying for my mom. And like obviously I've never had to do that before. And I just like imagine what it would be like if my dad actually did that to me. So in yeah, that was probably the hardest scene.
And you're working with so many actors that have been around for a long time. Did they give you any advice on this project, or did they kind of help you out in different scenes, or what was it like working with Luke and Sung and all these actors?
Yeah, I know one scene that resonated with me. Me and Luke and May were in the hallway of the hotel, and and we were running lines, and he said to be like more serious on one of my lines. And when I watched the movie, it was definitely really good advice.
So was it very different watching the finished film compared to filming it? Like, did you realize, wow, this was not how I thought it was going to turn out? It's so much cooler.
Yeah, yeah. First film. Yeah, so I really didn't know what to expect. I know that like when I was shooting, just like I remember shooting the scenes and just to see them all put together in one piece, it's really special. Yeah.
And from your side of things, Sung is playing like a real villain, a real bad guy, and Luke is playing this great hero. What were they like kind of on set? Were they really fun? Did they keep it serious? What was like the energy like when you weren't filming?
Yeah. Um, Sung is definitely a method actor. And
Yeah.
he yeah, and obviously in the movie he's very serious and like on set he wouldn't really like talk to people. And I know that like I was like kind of scared on of him on set because like he just like literally would ignore everyone and would just like focus on yeah, he's a great actor, so that's his. Yeah, and Luke, he is kind of the opposite. He would just like makes jokes when we're off camera on set, of course. Yeah.
George, just got to say, Swimming with Sharks, Trojan War, two of my favorite movies, got me through
Thank
high
you.
school. Big fan.
All right, thank
Uh,
you so much. And I got to say, JoBlo, honestly, it's the first website I pull up every morning before I start working.
awesome.
It's great.
Love
I
to
love
hear
the
it.
site. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I enjoyed the movie so much, and it's so different from anything you've actually directed. You've been involved in action projects before, but from a directorial standpoint, what was different for this compared to previous projects for you?
hmm Well, for the first time, I have been involved in action movies, but it's usually like, as a writer or as a co-writer. This is the first time where it's like, oh, you're the one yelling action and cut. And so, just being, yeah, the person in charge, and responsible for trying to execute all this is, yeah, it's a little terrifying, but, fortunately I've had that long history. I got my start working as assistant for Joel Silver, who back in the day was like, the action, maestro, and then, Barry Josephson, who's president of Columbia Pictures and, handling all the action, movies there, and then working with Robert Rodriguez. And so, I've had a really, rare privilege and great opportunity to see how other people do it. And so, yeah, now that I've got my shot to do it and to do it under the tutelage and guidance of someone like Luc Besson, who is, oh my God, he's an icon, in the genre. It's just been fantastic. It's really a dream come true.
And Sung, for you, you've been in obviously some big action films. You've played good guys, you've played bad guys. What's more fun to play, the hero or the villain?
The villain.
Yeah.
All day. Yeah. All day.
What do you think was the signature that you brought to playing this character?
Well, I give credit to George, to be able to explore, you know, a different type of bad guy. Usually the bad guys that are presented to me are very one-dimensional. They're almost follow like a stereotype, right? He's just Asian guy that maybe does kung fu and is angry at the world just because. But we focused on something that could be, relatable to anyone is, to be in love with someone so deeply, right? That, what would that trigger if that person was taken away from you? And I think that was the North Star for Kwang, and that made it actually, it gave you a why of why he, why he was the way he is, right? So, you know, and I give that credit to George to be able to listen, you know, to be able to explore that every morning before we would shoot. We'd get together and have breakfast and just talk things out and, you know, rewrite the scenes and then go and play and then try to make something different, right?
Yeah, and
George,
it's a great privilege for me as a director to have, you know, a talent like Sung who really wants to explore the character and do the prep work and ask the questions. You know, yeah, it's what makes the characters really shine in the movie.
and the characters are key. The action is great. The comedy is like perfect. There's just that right amount of humor in what's going on. So, but George, from a complexity standpoint,
Mhm.
what was the most challenging sequence to shoot in this entire film?
God, wow. I mean, you know, I mean, honestly, as a director, every single day when you wake up in the morning is like, oh my God, how am I gonna get through the day? So even like, you know, everyone always says, oh well, you know, dinner scenes, it's easy. It's, you know, like three people around a table talking, but then you're just like in your head going, okay, well, how am I gonna get the coverage of this and all that type of stuff? So, you know, in a weird way, you know, the action sequences are a little easier to shoot because you know, okay, these are the bits and pieces I need. But, you know, for working with the actors and performances, you know, sometimes it's like, you know, the stuff that seems deceptively simple, just people in a room talking, you know, but you know, the emotional complexity, you know, you want to give the actors that room to really play and like feel the characters out and, you know, and get the right tone. And so, yeah, those could be some, you know, sometimes some of the more, not difficult scenes to shoot, but, you know, sometimes the scenes you want to spend a little more time on.